Welcome to the Iron Show. I'm your man, Big Jack. This is where we prove we are stronger together, that if each one would reach one, we can all grow and glow. And today is just another beautiful day. I'm super excited to have my guest with me today. I don't, this person is I would say, in my Hall of Fame. This person has been very supportive, and I've definitely can. Anytime I've reached out to them, they've been right there, and I truly I think that I appreciate that because of the fact that we're a small community, we're growing, and the more we grow and glow, it's knowing that you have people in your corner that's looking out for you. So without stretching out any further, I'm gonna go ahead and introduce and bring my guests on to the show. If you give me 1 second, we'll bring them on. All right, we have Mary from Blessed2Crochet. How you doing, Mary? How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for being on the Iron Sharpening Iron show. And this is where we say we're proving that we are stronger together, that if each one would just reach one, we can all grow and glow. And here you are. And I thank you for being here.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Yeah. And I said it earlier that you're to me you're we're in the Hall of Fame. You're one of those that if I had a gold jacket, I would put you in the gold jacket and put you inside because you've been super supportive, and I know you have your own channel and you have a lot going on. But at any time I've reached out, you've been right there. So it's those things that mean a lot to me, and I just want to say thank you before we even get started today.
You're welcome. I
Yeah.
think that if we pull together, we can help each other grow.
No, 100%, 100%. So I
Absolutely.
know we are right now live on YouTube. We're live on Facebook. We're live. I'll definitely make sure to go through the Instagram and TikTok and even Twitch. And I see that you're also live on Facebook and YouTube. So we know that those are going to be coming in the chat. And once they start coming in the chat, we're going to start recognizing them and all. And so you can recognize your people that's coming in through your channel, and I'll recognize everybody, so that doesn't matter on that. But if you can, please share with us who you are, who's Mary, and then what's Blessed2Crochet.
Well, Blessed to Crochet started by accident to some degree.
No.
My daughter got married and in 22, and I love crochet. It helps me. I deal with fibromyalgia. I'm a chronic pain patient, and so I say I'm a survivor and a warrior. And I said, well, if I can have an opportunity to have more yarn, which is a crocheter's dream, let me see what I can do. And so I was already in like wedding chats on Facebook, and people asked me to do blankets for them, and I did, and more excuse to go buy yarn. And I said to my mom, I said, why don't we just start something? She knits, I crochet. And so I said, well, I'm blessed to crochet. And my husband said, I said, how do I shorten that? He said, why don't you put the two instead of the word two? And I started the YouTube account because I thought we can show off our crochet. That's exactly how I did it. I didn't do it had no intention of doing this whatsoever. And a friend of mine said, if you have something to say, you hit that big red button. I thought, well, let's just try it. And I went live. And at that point, I had realized the importance of connection. My aunt in 23 was diagnosed with terminal cancer. She passed a month ago today. And I had been surrounded by some very people that I found on YouTube. And I realized the importance of connection. And I thought, I'm going to use this Blessed to Crochet channel, and we're just going to start doing the connection thing. And it just took off. I thought, we'll never get monetized. We'll never say never. And I just kept going. And then I said to my mom, listen, if it ever gets monetized, you keep the revenue for it. I don't want it. I just need the connection. And so she gets the benefit of any of the revenue that comes in from the channel, and I get the connection. And in the process too, my daughter has a channel, so I'm helping her a little bit by helping us grow a little bit. And that was the reason I did it. I didn't do it for anything else but just let's give this a try. And I found the value of really being connected with people, especially if you're dealing with a chronic illness. There's sometimes you cannot go out. And I have found so many wonderful friends through this platform on days when I'm really struggling and having a difficult day. So it was by accident.
Right, right. Well, it's good to have. Sometimes they say the best things are the accidents. I know. I have a knitter in my circle. So my wife, she knits, and I do know the process that it takes, and I know that peace that you can have once you got your your pattern, and you're over and you're doing your what they say, laying your grid and all of that and getting ready and all that. So I try to get out the way, especially when they're counting. Stay away when they're counting. And
Exactly.
yeah, stay away when they're counting, and don't touch the material. If just like let it go, don't touch it. And I've learned over the years, but it's been cool to watch it start from a ball of yarn, not even a ball of yarn. It just be yarn before it's caked, and then rolled up into a ball, and then watch it become a masterpiece of some sort. So that's pretty amazing. So my hats off to anyone who can do it, because I know I'm not one. Even though I've tried, but I just didn't get the hang of it. But what is it? Knit and purl for the knitters. So knit and purl, knit.
Well, knit and purl is different from
Right,
crochet. There's
right,
two
right.
different
Just say for the
worlds.
knitters. That's for knitters, the knit and purl. So that's the thing I know. But I'm trying to think about it. But I know crochet is totally different. So, but
Yes.
hats off to anyone who is dealing in the fibers, and from the beginning all the way to the end. I salute you all, because I know it's a lot of dedication and hard work to go into it. So thank you
Well,
for
one
sharing
of my favorite things to do is blankets. I absolutely
that.
love doing blankets. I feel like they're giving people big hugs.
Mm,
And it's the one thing I do really well. And I found, I think it was last year, I found a lady through ST, and I found a certain way of doing blankets that you almost get like a pattern similar to a cross stitch pattern, which I've done in my life too as well. And you have these long sheets that you have like this graph that you're going back and forth and doing, and you can do words and letters and designs. I did a lighthouse for my husband, replicating like the St. Augustine lighthouse where we spent our honeymoon
mm.
in St. Augustine, Florida. So I really love doing those. And now that I've kind of understood how to do them and I worked with them for over a year, I'm going to be slowly trying to figure out how to do my own patterns and put them up too for people, because you do the bobble stitch and you can put names and personalize them. And I absolutely love doing those. Those are my favorite.
Wow.
That's
Yeah,
what I go
that
to.
that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. I mean, I like watching and seeing, like I say, the end results, and like I say, to have something personal, because the whole thing is it's one of a kind. I don't care,
Exactly.
even if you use the exact same design, you're never going to get the exact same stitch. Something's going to be one
No.
off or here or there, and it's going to be a one of a kind. So no matter who you give it
Yeah.
to, it's a one of a kind piece of art, and
It
you're an
is.
artist. So thank you for sharing that. So if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your childhood. How was it growing up? So as a child, so let's say up to 9 years old, if you want to share any of that.
Well, I was fortunate. I had a mom and dad. I was raised in a Christian home, so I went to church and all those things. I had a very loving mom, of course. I had a loving dad and a hardworking dad. I get some of my years of working really hard and persistent through him because he had a very hard work ethic. And I also have my ability to talk to anybody,
Mm,
a perfect stranger, because of him. But my dad was also raised in a very dysfunctional home. And my grandmother was undiagnosed bipolar and married and divorced 4 times. And my grandparents got divorced when he was 6 years old. And back in the 40s, it wasn't something that they realized, a divorce of somebody, a 6-year-old child may need some therapy. Um, my grandfather was not really, didn't want to be around my grandmother, and said, well, you know what, your third husband can now adopt, my son. And poof, hi, goodbye, son. So this dad that he's been calling dad for 6 years disappeared out of the picture. Now this man that she married, her third husband, this is the man you're supposed to call dad now.
Mm.
And so it left him with a lot of anger issues, abandonment issues, anxiety because of that. And it also made for a really difficult time in growing up, because I didn't know when my dad was going to do what he was going to do. Is he going to be, calm dad, or is he going to get really upset really quickly? And so I really wish I had understood that, but I was a kid,
Right.
and my mom, when she was around, was this calming influence for my dad. And then when she was gone, she didn't realize how bad it really got and how angry he could get very quickly. But, I was blessed. I lived in Florida, grew up, was born in Fort Pierce, was raised in Florida. My grandparents lived about 20 minutes away. My grandmother, my mom's mother, and her stepdad. And he was a quadriplegic. He had multiple sclerosis. He was the sweetest man you could just ever imagine. My papu, which is grandfather in Greek. So I was very heavily influenced by his family. They were all Greek. Big, huge family would come down and they all speak Greek and they'd have food. And, I spent hours swimming in the pool, and he treated me like his granddaughter from day one. He was just the sweetest man you could just ever imagine. And I saw all that he had to go through dealing with the multiple sclerosis. And yet he woke up with a smile on his face. How can I make your day better? How can I improve your life and make people happy? And so my memories of my childhood really involve around being at my grandparents' house and being in the pool and being around that environment and so forth. So, I was blessed. It was not always easy, my dad's and my relationship, but he was a good man. He just, he didn't get the, I wish that they would have had, him through some counseling to deal with that. Cause I really think that he just felt for so many years, what did I do? I must have done something that my dad didn't want to have anything to do with me.
Right.
And I didn't realize the impact that really did on his life.
No,
But I'm thankful.
yeah, I can imagine. In my years, we fostered. So not to put it in that category, but some of the kids that we had in the house, every time they were placed with another family, they almost had to start over, a whole new set of rules, whole new set of, trying to learn this person. And even at that age, like you say, 6 years old, 7 years old, trying to have an understanding of what I did wrong. What did I do wrong to cause this? And that could be fracturing to a lot of people. And I know for sure back then no one was looking at it that way.
No.
They wasn't looking at the kids being affected in that way. So, but then it, like you say, there's something that's bottled up, and then even you start to share that information or share that experience with your kids. And but I'm taking it that for you to say there was a good person, a loving family. It's just like you say, sometimes you just didn't know what you was going to get. So that's amazing. But thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that part of your life with us. We are at a point. I want to see if we can recognize some of the people down in the chat. I see Nisi Jackson there. That's my aunt. She's very supportive. Selena the Celestial is out there. Els Endeavor is there. Jared Talks is there. I was on Jared Talks show the other day. He does an interview show very similar to what we do, and but he's definitely got a good show going. So thank Jared for being here with us. B is out there. I think they allowed her to get some free time out in the rec yard, so she's supporting with us. That's from E Block, and thank you, B, for being here with us. And then there's some people that's here from your side. So I see Tuber Chat is out there. And is that Sandy Wandy?
Wandy.
Sandy Wandy. Okay, did I get it right? Okay.
Yes, you did.
Blessing Through Connections is out there. And just want to make sure we try get everybody that's up there. And then Niecy Jackson, which is my aunt, but she also crochets, and that's what she was saying. And I see Juan Perez is there. And if I make
I
sure I get it,
won.
if I get it, make sure I get it right. And if you some people I don't see that you're seeing, please make sure we recognize them for being here on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. And I got Mary from the Blessed2Crochet team, even though she mentioned that it's an accident that the show started, but I'm glad we had this
Was.
accident, And and if you see the thumbnail on this, I think it's a picture of your mom. Your mom is
Yes.
the other part of your team. And
Yep.
that was good. And thank you for sharing that picture with us so we can see that your mom is out there. And so living my best life at 60 is in the house. So there you go. That's Echo. So thank you, Echo, for being here with us. Now, I'm going to run a quick commercial. We're going to come back and we're going to get a little bit more conversation with Mary from Blessed2Crochet on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. So give me 1 second so we can drop this on you. Here we go.
Get ready for the ultimate live experience. Join us on stage where music, poetry, and comedy collide in a night to remember. Top musicians, spoken word artists, and comedians come together for a unique and unforgettable show. From soulful melodies to side-splitting jokes, this jam-packed event has it all. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we bring you the best of the best in this one-of-a-kind performance. Are you ready for the next We Be Jammin' Live?
All right, we're back on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. I have my guest, Blessed2Crochet, Mary from the team. And Mary, in the last question we had, we was talking about as a young child. So now, how was your teenage years? How was being a teenager?
My teenage years were not easy.
Oh, wow.
I was heavily bullied in school. I was the loner. I was also, especially 6th through 8th grade, I was the kid that was a little bit more chunky, I guess you could say, even though I look back at pictures thinking I really wasn't, but I guess I was. And so I was very heavily bullied through 6th through 8th grade. I was also, at 12 years old, I came across, of course, there was the 10th anniversary. You can see Elvis in the back there. And I said to my mom, "Who's this guy?" And she said, "That's Elvis." Well, that was it. I thought he was cute. I was 12 years old, and I started going down there, and I fell in love with Elvis's music. So I was this kid in middle school that liked Elvis and probably was, just awkward, and I was heavily, heavily bullied. And I don't really think the kids realized exactly how far I was at a point where I was like, you know what, I really don't even want to be here. My mother's father unalived himself. And so being an only child, I realized that was something I couldn't even think about doing to my mother. And my uncle, my grandmother on my dad's side, child, also unalived himself as a young man. So I thought, this is not anything that I can do to my family. We had drugs and alcohol, both sides of the family. So I thought, I'd seen what devastation that had done. And I thought, I can't even think about doing this. But I turned to food. That was the thing that I used in order to cover up the pain. Because I go to school, I get bullied. I wanted to be accepted. I wanted to be part of the clique,
Right.
And I come home, didn't know what I was going to get with my dad, didn't have any friends, was very lonely. And so food was real easy to turn to. It was something that I can turn to versus turning to a drug. And so I struggled with, food issues in my teenage years, but teenage years were not fun. They were really, really difficult. And I just, about the age of about 9th grade, the school I went to went up to 8th. And then I went to a new school at 9th, and I thought, great, I'll have a fresh start. And kids found something to pick on me there. And I went to my mom at the end of 9th grade and I said, "You have to get me out of here. I'm done. I've had it. I'm over this. I cannot do this anymore. You've got to get me out of a school. I don't care whether you homeschool me. I don't care what you do, but I'm not going back for 10th. I just can't do this anymore." Emotionally, I was just done. And so I went for my GED. and I spent 2 years getting my GED and going to like a GED center, which was wonderful because I got a reprieve from just all this bullying.
Right.
And I missed, of course, doing all the stuff that high school kids do, going to prom and all that kind of stuff. I never got to do that, but I just couldn't take the mental anymore. It was like I'm going to a new school and I'm going to get a fresh start, and still they find a way to bully you.
Right.
And so it was not pleasant.
No, I can only, I would say, imagine it, because I've had my struggles as well. So that's, I won't say I was bullied, but I had a struggle in the 7th grade. So that was one of my hard parts. So in 7th grade, I was in the 7th grade 3 times. So, when you have that repeat, you see kids passing you, then comes that friction, and that comes and a lot of it was me not wanting to go to school, but not understanding why I didn't want to go, and
Exactly.
when I got older and I started looking at it, it's once you get behind, and it's hard to catch up, and then before you know it, it's just one of those. It's easier if I just don't show up, because I'm never going to get in front of this thing, and that right there. But I thank God that I was able to get through it all. But it was tough, and not having someone to go to and to talk to and say, hey, this is what I'm going through. This is what I'm facing. And they have things. You have teachers at school, you have parents, you have, counselors at school and all. But I believe, I'm from the 70s. So I'm thinking, I think a lot of people just miss the fact that there were real issues going on back then.
Well, I think too, one thing that happened with my mom is that the principals would say, well, if Mary would just stop doing this, and if Mary would stop doing this. And it was like, wait a minute. It's not me.
Right.
If she would just stop being, and she would stop getting the attention and wanting the attention, all this was like, wait a minute. No, it's not me.
Right. Yeah.
And it was hard, because it was like, if she would just settle down and not pay attention to this, she just eggs it on. I don't care what egging on, I guess I did. I don't deserve to be called cow in school.
Right.
And
No.
that was my name.
No.
I don't deserve to be, bullied to the point where it was like, just stop, please, for 3 years. And it was hard, and it was a wonderful school. It was a Christian school, but there was just nobody took the reins and said, this is excessive. They take it much more seriously today than they did back then.
Yeah. And go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just think if I hadn't had my grandfather and my uncle choose the route they did, I may have just said, I'm out of this. I'm done.
Right.
And it was because of that. And it was because of God, and, having that. And I'd come home and put on the Elvis music, and I could escape for a while.
Oh, wow. So the Elvis music helped some of it. Huh?
Yeah, it did.
Well, that's good. Well, Elvis he definitely was a great performer, entertainer, and musician. A lot of songs. I mean, he's a legend. He still does Elvis.
Yeah.
You remember, most people know him over a lot of other musicians in any time. But so if you don't mind, was there a favorite song that you would listen to that just did it for you with Elvis?
Well, we have to do this one, Mary in the Morning.
Oh yeah. Okay. You know what? I've never heard it. I've never heard of it. So I would have to go back and
You'll have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look it up. Yeah,
I'll have to look it up.
I was what's that one? Your Teddy Bear. That's the one that I would listen to. But just because it's like, when you're a big person, and you said, but I be playing football and things like that, was muscles and always big, and trying to get across to people that I was not a mean person. I don't want to be your lion. I don't want to be, your tiger. I just want to be, and then you're a teddy bear. Something small, something cuddly. Don't have to fear me, and that's what it was. So, and that, so the name Big Jack it came from being a big person. When they're on the field and you got muscles everywhere, and people, they look at you like you're going to be mean, or you're going to be this and that. I'm like, if you'd ever get to know me, it's like I am not that person. I'm not that person at all.
People don't realize that Elvis really, his humbleness was really what people didn't see. I know he had the suits and all this stuff, and there's a lot of other things. There's one story, one of my favorites, and I learned this probably about 40 years later. And he said there was an article in the newspaper that was talking about a woman, happened to be African American. So there's people that say Elvis, was racist. They're lying because he wasn't. Right. They don't know Elvis. And so bodyguards handed him this article. This woman had no legs, and they had built her like a board with wheels on it, and they was using skates, and she had raised grandchildren and children. And so Elvis said, you know what, get me the best wheelchair money could buy. So they did. They loaded the wheelchair up in his car, and he personally brought it to her house. There was no camera crew there, no fame, no nothing. And they got it to the front door, and he knocked on the door, and he said, I've got something for your wife, because her husband answered the door. And they brought this wheelchair in. The house was spotless. And she came around this corner with this, homemade thing to get her around the house. And she just saw the wheelchair. She said, is that mine? She said, can I sit in it? And Elvis said, of course. And so him and a bodyguard lifted her up, put her in this wheelchair. And he said, ma'am, I don't know much about it, but it's going to take you any place you really want to go really fast. And they said, listen, we got to get out of here because we're going to cry. And he handed the gentleman, her husband, some money, and they left out the door and so forth. And one of his bodyguards turned to Elvis and said, you know what? I don't think she knew who you were. And he said, it doesn't matter who I am. It matters that she knows someone cared about her. Right. He didn't turn back and say, do you know Elvis handed you that wheelchair? No, he didn't care about his name or anything or who bought it. He just wanted her to know someone cared about her. Right. And that's the Elvis that a lot of people didn't see in all the stuff and all the news articles was Elvis.
All right. Wow.
And I love this story.
Yeah, that's a great story. Thank you for sharing that. I would never had a clue. I mean, if if we were doing a trivia question right now, and you mentioned that in it, I really know I'll be gone. That's two things I have to look Elvis up. So I think a lot of times you just hear the music and of the stories, and never did I hear the negative side to it, because Elvis was just respected, I believe, by a lot of people. He did, his performances was well, being a veteran and all of those things that he did. So it's like he had a lot going for him. We sometimes look at the negative, and that's the only thing that we would ever drive and even share with other people, because people just like drama. I mean, I'm just being honest. People just like drama. So if I can, stir some stuff up, then the mark going, make a person's name sound bad, then that would make. But you ain't nothing but a hound dog and all that. I'm thinking of the songs as I'm sitting here now talking with you, but Elvis is he's Elvis, nothing about that. So, and I won't say, I know people still saying he's still around and this and that, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just going to go with no, but at the same time,
he's not.
Yeah. So I'm just going to go with that. So we're going to, again, recognize the people that's out there, and I still see, so Nightbot's out there. So you use Nightbot. Now I want to ask you about that, because I'm still struggling with Nightbot. Not that I got anything against it. I just don't know how to put the codes in to get it to do what I wanted to do. So we're going to talk about that. But B is out there.
I'm still figuring it out.
Figuring it out. Okay, no wrong with that. Hey, you got the sources in the house. Hello, source. How you doing? B, how you doing? 2075, almost here. You good? Living my best life at 60. Echo, how you doing? And thank you for being here. Nisi Jackson's in there. Tuber Chat is there, and I think that's another program that you use. So Sandy, Wendy, go ahead.
Tuber Chat's actually a channel, and if you are someone that has a channel, I would highly suggest going over to Tuber Chat. He is very informative, and he takes about 3 hours several times a week and goes through channels and introduces people. It's a great place for channels to really connect, grow, and so forth. I recommend it to anybody that has a YouTube channel. It
Oh,
is a great place for connection.
well, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. I did not know. So,
Yeah.
Tuba Chat, welcome and thank you for being here. Thank you. Sandy Wandy is there. I see her, and we keep going. Blessings through connections, and we
That's
like I
me.
say, that's you.
That's our
So
other
you,
channel.
that's your other channel. Okay, well, it's good to have both channels on here. So now, if you got Mary on here, and it's Blessed2Crochet, and then Blessing Through Connection is also their channel. So make sure. I know B is out there dropping links. So Miss B, if you can hit that link, we'll appreciate it. Els Endeavors is out there. Selena the Celestial is there. Jared Talks is out there. And then those who don't have their blue jackets on, it's normally I'll wait to the end of the show, and then I'll go back and I'll actually give the blue jackets and all, because I just try to, once I'm talking to somebody, I want to be respectful to the guests that's on here. So but it's not personal. So if you don't have it, but if I can get it to you, I will put it on if you earned your blue jacket. I just don't pop it on anybody that come in here. So Juan Perez is here, and then thank you for being here. The Bud Files, hello, and I'm sure that's one of yours.
Yeah,
Or not
that's
one of
one
yours,
YouTube
but
channel.
it came through your channel. Like I said, we got lives going on. We're on 4 different locations with lives. And again, we got Mary here from Blessed2Crochet, and then it's Blessings Through Connection. So now that we know, so if I see it pop up, so we're going to drop another commercial, and we're going to come back, and we're going to do a little bit more talking. So Mary, stay tuned, and thank you, and we'll talk to you in a second. All right, give me 1 second. Let's see. There we go. All right, welcome back to the Iron Sharpening Iron Show. I'm your man, Big Jack. And again, I got my guest, Mary from Blessed2Crochet, on the stage. And we just walked through your childhood. So now we're in teenage years. and go ahead.
Blessing Through Connection is really a channel that we just use so we can start putting playlists of people up. I tend to not want to put playlists of people on the channel, because sometimes when people are helping you out with your playlist by running them to get watch hours and so forth, if you have other people's names in there, it can get confusing. So we use that other channel so that we can send people over there to say, hey, check out some awesome channels. But then those playlists aren't in our playlist. Unless we're doing a collaboration with somebody, we try to just make our playlist to be everything of content we have done. So it's not confusing. So that's why we did that other channel.
Oh no, there's nothing wrong with that. I appreciate it. That's
I think it's a great idea for people that if they're looking for a way to recommend channels, but they want to make sure their playlists are really their content. It's a great way to make sure that they're not confusing their audience, because if you want them to help you with your watch hours, you can ask them to go to your playlist, but if you've got other people in, it makes it difficult to do that. So just something to think about.
Wow, that's look, it's good advice. Let me tell you something right now. I am not monetized. So I started this in October, so I'm still learning a lot. I really am. I like being here. What I'm doing is perfect for me. I love being live and being able to talk and learn and meet new people. And I like to get that deeper conversation, or the other part to that. I like to get the not so much the deeper conversation, but to get to know the person behind the channel. And that's what, the iron sharpening iron is all about. But any information you can give to anyone who is listening and anyone who is out there trying to build their channels, and I'm one of those people. I'm still trying to get the watch hours and the subscribers and all of that. So so anything that you can give and any pointers that's going to help me get there, I'm listening. So
get over to Tuber Chat. That's my first one.
Get over to Tuber Chat. Okay. So all of those out there that's listening right now, that's still trying to build their channels, Tuber Chat is the way to go. So we're going to make sure that if you haven't been there yet, get over there, because it's going to help you out. So I appreciate that. I thank you for introducing that channel to me, and that's and for anyone else that's listening to this. So an experience, and then sometimes, because we all have different experiences, but I'm gonna say buying a home, or the first time that you had, you was not at home with your parents and now you're on your own. So can you share that experience with us if you want, or if you don't mind anyway?
Well, that one is a difficult one. I actually, it's a story within a story. And I did put Tuber Chat in the chat in case people want to have a link to that channel. My husband that I am married to now, who I've been married to this year, 18 years, he is kind of the reason I met my first husband, because they were friends. And him and I were friends prior to that. And so that is also my daughter's father. And, that gentleman came down to Florida, and, I was angry with the world. I was angry with my dad. I was angry with the world. I was angry with everything. And I thought this guy was just so charming, and he was just the most amazing guy in the world. And I got angry enough to sit there and say, you know what? I'm gonna just go back up to Indiana with him. And my parents didn't like him. I know now why, but they weren't crazy about him. And his mother said that we could stay with her. So we got on a bus within about 2 weeks of meeting, and I went to Indiana. And the first place we lived was with his mom. But then after, we found like a little apartment. Even though I was raised as a Christian, I was angry with God. I was angry with my dad. I just was angry with everybody. And I got pregnant with my daughter. And I, thankfully, Josh, who's now my husband, stepped in and was friends with him and helped a lot in that. But I didn't realize that he was also very abusive. And I thought I could handle this. I had been raised with a dad who got angry easily. So this was nothing. My mom could put up with it. Well, I could put up with it. And I wanted my family to stay together. I did love him. But he was someone that really needed some therapy and some help and so forth. And he wasn't willing to get any of that. We got married. I think that there should have been some kind of sign when nobody stood at our wedding, when I walked down the aisle, that everybody was like, wait a minute, this is not, we don't approve of this. But I went forward and everything. And my parents came up shortly after my daughter was born, and helped me with, the first 2 weeks of her life. And there was a situation that I just needed to leave. Very within a couple of days of them leaving to go back home to Florida. And my dad stepped in, and I had to leave. And I went back 3 times. So I can understand what it's like for the women that are in abusive situations, where they say, but why don't you just leave? Well, it's a lot easier to say that than do it. This is your family. You love this person. You care about this person. You don't want to not have everything, you want everything together. You don't want to just, separate from all that. And when things were just at a point where it wasn't going to work, more on his side than mine, we went through, through the process of divorce. And he decided that because of the distance, he was in Tennessee, Indiana at that point. I was in Florida. He didn't want our daughter back and forth between states, that he gave up rights to her at 2 years old. Well, in the state of Florida, if you give up rights as a father, someone else has to take them over. Well, my dad did not hesitate a moment. This is where I chose to forgive my dad. After a long battle, I did get my dad, when I was in my teenage years, to actually reconnect with his biological father. He didn't want to at first, but that was a God thing. And he reconnected. I got to meet my biological grandfather, the only one that I could have met that was alive. He'd had a stroke. I'll never forget. He was probably towards the end, and we saw him, and he motioned to me. He was in the hospital bed. He motioned to me, and I said, "Yes, yes, Grandpa." And he said, "I love you." And his wife said to me, she said, "Do you know how priceless that is?" He doesn't say that very often.
No.
But I had brought his son back to him, and that was great. It was a great healing for him. And Promise Keepers, if you remember Promise Keepers, Promise Keepers came into his life, and he started getting mentored by some men, and that really helped a lot in his life. But at that point, we had some healing happen. But he just said, "I'll step in, and I'll come in, and I'll, take over the rights." He didn't hesitate for a moment. He was glad to do it. And I very much said to my dad, when I chose to live with my parents, because I knew that was what was best for my daughter, to live with him and not have to try to be, a single mom. Because I really, truly was a very, very much of a single mom. I didn't have help from him at all. And I said to my dad, "I love you, but realize that if you treat me the same way you treat, if you treat my daughter the same way you treated me, I'm out. You'll never see me again. You'll never see my daughter." This was even before he took over the adoption. And I said, I'm just not going to have it. And he was the best grandpa. I mean, he played with her. I said, "Listen, you don't discipline her. You just be fun grandpa." And he did it so well. She has so many wonderful memories of my dad. And I'm so, so grateful that I chose to forgive, and we chose to heal. And that was certainly a God thing. And, I didn't give up any of my rights as a mother, but he took over the father side.
Right.
And then about 5 years later, I hadn't talked to Josh for a while, and he emailed me, and he always used to end his emails with a rose. You can do that little thing with the cursive or the dots and whatever. And he said, "Give me a call." And I called him, and he started talking, and we could talk about anything between the two of us. And I said to him, "Josh, what's going on?" About a half an hour into the conversation, he said, "You know what?" He said, "If I come down there and live, will you go out with me?" And he said, "I've never stopped loving you." He said, "You were my first love." He said, "I've never stopped loving you." He had gotten married and divorced. And he said, "If I move down there, will you come out? Will you go out with me?" And I said, "Yeah, move down. Let's see what happens."
Right.
And he came down, and he came down in 2005 in a blizzard, and moved down to Florida, and we were married in 2007. And, he had a rough life, and a father that wasn't really there. And if you ask him who his dad is, he'll say, "It's my dad." My dad just came beside him and loved him. And he was in a really bad place in his life. And he said, "You know what? It was your church and you and your family." He said, "I was just ready to say, nobody cares about me. I'm just going to leave this world." And he came down, and he got surrounded by a lot of love. And I've been married now for 18 years.
Congratulations.
And I married my best friend, and that's the truth.
Right. Yeah, and that's that wonderful story. I want to hit on something before we go any deeper to the story, but the fact that you said in Florida, if someone gives, wait a minute, if a person gives up their rights, but in the state of Florida, someone has to step in and take over for them. Okay.
You can't
I had never heard of that. Yeah, so that's cool.
you can't just they don't want people to say, okay, well, I want to give up my rights and then have no financial responsibility.
Right. Okay.
And we did not know at the time that Christina, we got a diagnosis that she had some special needs at the age of 5, but she was then misdiagnosed for many years and then re-diagnosed properly at the age of 11 with high functioning autism. So I was dealing with a special needs child, which was very daunting to say the least, to take care of. But in the state of Florida, you just can't just, woof, I just want to give up my rights. And so on her birth certificate, it said me as the mom and him as the dad, which we kept. I kept my married name and he, of course, had his last name. So it didn't look like people would think it would be, on a birth certificate. But she kept that until 2024. And my dad had said, listen, when Josh and I got married, he said, I can't, have you adopt Christina because she was getting some benefits. He had served in the Navy for 28 years and as a first class petty officer and did reserves. And she was getting some benefits and having the medical stuff that she had, we needed that. But she wanted to have my Josh's last name. So he said, I can do that. I can pay so that has that last name. So that for Father's Day was the gift that he gave her. But he said to me, he said, when she's ready, when you can, I want Josh to very much adopt Christina. So in 2024, my dad passed in 2021 after 7 long years of a battle with dementia. And Josh officially adopted her, but he's treated her as his daughter from day one.
Right.
There was no step involved. This is my kid and this is my daughter and I'm dad. She couldn't wait to call him dad. She very much wanted that. And so he took it over. He was able to adopt her. She had gotten married. So at that point, any benefits that she was getting from my dad, she got married in 2022, stopped. So he was able to adopt her without any worries of that as an adult. So she's been adopted twice.
Oh, wow.
But it was his wish that eventually Josh was the one that legally, was able to adopt her. And most likely, my husband has a very rare medical condition that he most likely could never have had children of his own. So God provided a daughter that acts just like him.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh.
I mean, and nobody really knows. I mean, they look and said, we thought Josh was your dad because he just acted like it, from day one.
Right.
But, it was the best thing that could have happened because, her biological father wasn't ready to be a dad.
Right. Yeah.
And it was very difficult. My biggest advice to anybody that's in there is I was really angry at my ex-husband. I had every right to be angry, but I tried very hard not to bash him around my daughter.
Right.
This is partly him, part of her is part of him. And I just said, I'm not going to do this. I could yell and scream in the car. I could do it outside of any of her, but around her, I said, you know what? He loves you. He cares about you. He just can't be in your life right now. But I told her good things. I told her age appropriate stuff. I didn't hide that as she got older. I told her the truth. Right. I said, I made mistakes in the relationship. I did things wrong too. I didn't bash him. And when she got married, she reached out to him to see if they could connect, and she wanted to try to get to know him. And that was the one thing that, 25 years later served me very well. Because she said to him, you know what? She's never said one negative thing about you. She's told the truth. I never hid the truth from her.
Right.
But she said she's never been negative. And that's one thing that it's so hard when you hear these parents, and I know they're hurting. I get it. But these children don't need this. And that was one thing that I'm really glad I didn't do.
Right.
It wasn't easy.
No, I can, Yeah, I think a lot of times, and I've been in a divorce situation, especially with kids involved, is when you start using the kids as the weapon of choice
Yeah,
to get
exactly.
back at the other person, and that's where it gets real, real weird because, like I say, the the parents love their children. It wasn't the child, and sometimes the child takes they take the burden of thinking it was them that caused the friction
Yeah.
between, but we're two adults that just not getting along. We're and but when you use the child, that's when like I say, where one person is speaking ill against the other person and it's chopping each other down, but you're saying it to the kid, and now you're making them try to figure out which way to go or which side to lean on, and who should I trust, believe, or even because they love their parents too, and that it gets real weird. So definitely thank you for sharing that, and I'm glad that everything worked out. I was married too.
Yeah.
When I got remarried, I was remarried in 2007. So when you said that, I was like, oh, okay, 2007. That was a good year. That was definitely a good year to do it again, I believe.
And in
So
the state of Ohio, you can't do that. When we tried to have the adoption, they were very confused
mm,
because they said to me, "Oh, well, she can't be adopted without the release of the biological father." And I said, "That's my dad, and he's not here anymore."
right,
you
right,
know?
yeah,
And they were very confused and they said this would have never happened in the state of Ohio.
in Ohio,
And
right,
I said, "You know what? God knew where I needed to be to have all that come
mm,
through."
right,
And with her special needs and having autism, change would have been so difficult for her. I mean,
mm,
just changing her bedtime routine to have her have a shower before she ate could sometimes send her into a 2 or 3 hour meltdown. So
right,
I can't even imagine what it would have been like to go back and forth between states. It would have been horrible.
oh yeah,
And God knew, God knew
yeah,
what
and
she was going to need.
the long distance, really the long distance, not saying relationship, but trying to co-parent with a distance, a state going between states and all, it's very confusing. When I went through my divorce, that was one of the big things. Is I was in one state, my ex-wife in another state, my kids. It's like, what are you gonna do with them? And it's like, well, I'll get them one weekend, you get them one weekend. It's like it's too far to try to
Yeah.
travel and this and that, and so you got to come up with a better plan than that. And I'm glad it did work out for you, worked out for your daughter, and most of all, worked out for your dad
Yeah.
because it seemed like it pulled him. It gave him more of the purpose of another chance. That's look at it like that. He gave him a second chance
Oh, he
to
was a great puppet.
yeah, and that's really good. That's really good.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and recognize some people down in the chat, and we're going to continue to talk. So we got Sharon Jackson there. That's my mom. So my mom is down in the chat now. Jamaica Alexander, hello, and thank you for being here. Sandy Wendy, B, living my best life at 60. Let's make sure we get it. It said Lucy Warren's World. So
Lucy.
Lucy Warren's World is there. The source, Edward Johnson, Captain Johnson, thank you, excuse me, for being there. And I just want to make sure we try to recognize everybody. So Cindy Lifestyles and More, thank you for being on, coming in, being in the chat with us today. We keep going up. That's of course is you. About to say your name, Shakita Woods. I want to say if I hope I said it right. So did I say it right? The source is here. Nightbot is out there doing his thing, living my best life at 60. Niecy Jackson is in there. Tuba Chat, and we're definitely going to make sure I connect with all of you,
Yeah.
not just Tuba Chat, but Tuba Chat has been recommended for anyone that's trying to get started. Make sure you connect with Tuba Chat so they can help you build up your channel. So I liking that.
Any size
Blessing,
channel.
any size
Any
channel.
size
So
channel.
if you're already grown, go there. If you're just starting, grow
Yeah.
there. Either way, you're going to do well with
Great
Tuba Chat.
community.
So I'll make sure it's a great community. So we're going to make sure. So Blessing Through Connection, that is Mary's other channel. So if you become a member or subscriber to both, you're going to be okay. Selena the Celestial, thank you for being here. Ella's Endeavor, thank you. Elle's Endeavor, thank you. Jared Talk, thank you for being out there with us today. And then we're going on Juan Perez. And if I missed anybody, please, Bud Files. And I'm just trying to make sure we hit them all. So we're almost at the end of the first show because we know we do a after show, and a lot of things that you said that it was resonating. I said we were just talking about being a kid and growing up, and now you was on your own, and then it's like the blessing of having your child, and then sometimes what we look at as a negative turned out to be a positive, and because of the fact that they were already. So I'm gonna ask you this, and this is share if you want. So your current husband and your former husband were friends before
Yes.
you. Okay. So see, that's where the blessing come in too, because this person is already there in a sense.
Well, we met on Valentine's Day. You remember with AOL, right? When you had the dial up?
Oh yeah,
We
yeah.
met on Valentine's Day in 97, Josh and I, in a chat room, AOL Friends First. And that's how we met. And then we just connected. We talked and we connected. We tried the long distance dating. It didn't work. And then we just stayed friends. And that's how I met my ex-husband. But
Okay.
he said that's when I found the love of my life, was in that chat room.
Oh wow.
That was God.
Yeah. The fact that you was in the dial up, because that was hard time anyway. It was hard times anyway. Anybody just pick up the phone and that connection is gone. So
there was how many chat rooms? There was like huge amount of Friends First chat rooms in AOL, and we just popped into that Pacific one.
Yeah, well, that's just like you say, that's how God works, and he put you where you need to be, and who you need to be around, and this just works out. So I'm super happy, and I'm glad that worked out for you, and it happened on Valentine's Day. That's a whole different. So with what month in 2007 did you get married? Just the month. You don't have to give me
July.
dates. Wow, I'll say I'm a July too. So amen. You have to see if you hit that. So 2007 in July. And all right, so but mine's 2007 as well in July. So anyway, unless you want to share the date, but other than that,
the 21st, which was my grandfather's birthday.
Okay, well,
and,
all right.
We got married, and it was my dad sat there and he was like, I can just wear a suit. I said, Dad, you promised me that the moment I met a guy that you put your stamp of approval on, you were going to wear a tux at my wedding. And we decided both of our first weddings were not ones that we really wanted to remember. So we made sure that our wedding was like our first. And he said, I want you to go and get the most beautiful wedding dress. And I did. And he said, you just do everything like this is your first one. Right. And that's what I did.
Wow, that's cool. That really is cool.
And it was
congratulations on that. So mine's not the 21st, but we was close though. We were right in the neighborhood. So I was the 7th. So I got 777. So that was my anniversary for sure. And that's my favorite number. So it was like it all lined up. So when the Lord bless you with the right person at the right time, and everything just lines up. So so that happened to be my favorite number. I don't know if people got favorite numbers, but I have one. And
5's my favorite number for some reason.
5. My thing is my government name, the name my mom gave me when I was born, has 7 letters in each name, and so each name has 7 letters, so it's 777. So, and then I have that anniversary of 777. So it's like,
well, it equals up to 21.
Yes, it does. 100%. That's why when you said it, I'm like, well, I can find how I can get in there, but at the same time, if you just pulled out 7, I'm like, wait a minute. But no, that's pretty cool though. Super excited. So we are at the end of the Iron Sharpening Iron regular show, and we're getting ready to go into the after show. So I'm gonna have a quick commercial break, run these commercials again that we had, and then when we come back, we'll be on the after show. So thank you for everyone who has hung with us for this whole show, and I hope that you all hang with us for the after show, because we're going to get a little bit deeper in our conversation with Mary, Blessed2Crochet, and as we continue on. So bear with me as we go into the after show, and here's the commercials.
Get ready for the ultimate live experience. Join us on stage where music, poetry, and comedy collide in a night to remember. Top musicians, spoken word artists, and comedians come together for a unique and unforgettable show. From soulful melodies to side-splitting jokes, this jam-packed event has it all. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride as we bring you the best of the best in this one-of-a-kind performance.
All right, we're back on the Iron Sharpening Iron, and now we're in the after show. So I need to go ahead and change our little logo up in the top, and give me 1 second. We'll pop that in there. Not that you need to have it, but I like to drop it in there. So we're on the after show. This we get a little deeper in the conversation. Not that we was having a good conversation, and also this is a time when we'll bring others on the stage. So normally I have my partner with me. He'll come up if he's available. If not, we'll keep talking to Mary and Blessed2Crochet. And Mary, all right, so before we get into it, I'm gonna ask you a question. So if you could do, I don't say do it again, but I say if you was to talk to someone that say they're 21 to 25-year-old self, if you could talk to your 21 to 25-year-old self, what advice would you give yourself from where you live now to say my 21, 25-year-old self? What advice would you give?
Listen to the people that are older. I hope to tell my grandkids one day. I don't have any yet. One day, hopefully. And I'll be a yaya. And I hope to be able to tell them as their yaya, listen. You know, if you're given the opportunity to sit with millionaires, that's wonderful. Take the opportunity, learn from them. But throughout your life, you're going to be surrounded by your grandparents and your mom and dad and church family and so forth that have tons of wisdom that are more valuable than gold. Don't just push those things aside. Listen to people that have gone before you, that are older, that are wiser. They know what they're talking about, even when they don't think that, you know, they know what they're talking about. They do. And be persistent. I was one of those kids in school that my teachers used to sit there and say, you know what, Mary can't take a break. She just has to keep going. She has to keep going forward and keep doing it. There's kids that have A's. They can take a little vacation and then go back to working hard. Mary just has to keep at it. And sometimes it's really hard. I know when you're doing this, sometimes to go into your chat, maybe it's really slow and you think, am I really doing anything? You know, but you just have to keep at it. You have to keep persistent. And you never know what you can do. But if you stop, you're never going to do it. And just love the people that are around you and really rely on connection and community. When my aunt was passing away of stage 4 liver and lung cancer, one of her wishes was in August to come up and see our family for the last time. And a family member of my mother's used to say, you know, if you never know, if you never ask, you'll never know. And so I put the word out to our community that she wanted that. And we had I had a friend of mine who was a travel agent that also has a channel, and she helped get the time and all that done because we couldn't even do that. And the community came together to make that ticket happen for my aunt. And we all got to give her that one last hug before she left this world. Right. And that's the power of what community and YouTube can be. And they've been through it with me since the time she was diagnosed, through her chemo, through her coming up here and visiting. And there is some different shows we did or little snippets that we did while she was up here. My daughter and her went for a beautiful horse ride together. And then they were in when she went underneath hospice. and they were there the night that I had to get on and say she's gone. And community helps, especially when you're dealing. I have a blanket here because I'm cold, which you know, when you're dealing with fibromyalgia, I tell people it's kind of like dealing with going to the amusement park, or when you've worked out and you overworked and your body's sore. Well, that's my body 24/7. There's not a day that doesn't go by that I don't hurt. You're sore, you're stiff, you hurt. And on top of the migraines and the insomnia and the anxiety and all the other wonderful things that come with it. And you know, you just they've been there for me, and I'm just so grateful that I had that community, because when you're dealing with a chronic illness, or you're dealing with a caregiving for an adult individual, or you have a special needs child, you know, there was times when I was raising my daughter, it was like, I can't go out and go, you know, in the world. I'm too tired for it. I really wish I'd had something like these chats to get into and say, you know, I'm having a really, really rough day. It's been a hard day. I was too tired. I was too exhausted. And so these communities on YouTube that are coming together are really making difference. And we have a mission statement on our channel. You don't have to crochet. It's in the name. But if you want to, we're B2C. If you want to make it in your head, blessings are blessed to connect, go ahead and change it. It's fine. You don't have to crochet. Get past the name on a YouTube channel and get to know what are they doing. We do channel shout outs every day. We try. There's some days I miss. We do jokes 3 times a week. We do quotes every Monday. We do pre-recorded devotions every day. We do topics from autism to dementia. My daughter had a service dog, so I've even talked about that experience and my journey. We have recipes. We have all different kind of stuff. But the main thing we do is we talk about connection and having community. Crochet is just in the title, but you don't have to have a crochet hook to participate. No crochet hook required.
Right.
We're crocheting connection.
Right.
That's what we're doing over there.
That's pretty cool. Now, I see we got a guest getting ready to come on the stage. So I'm gonna bring him on, and then I'm gonna get into this question I have for you. So give me 1 second to get him on the stage, and then we're gonna get into this question I have for you. So give me 1 second. All right. So. All right, welcome in Walt to the stage. Hey, Walt, how you doing, sir?
Mary, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Let me tell you something. I listen to a lot of audio books. I read a lot of self-help books, and you are resilience on 2 legs. So hey, wonderful story, and congratulations to you. I mean, you seem like you're just a very resilient person. So I've learned a lot, and thank you for sharing a lot this evening. Big Jack, as usual, good to see you. So
it's always good seeing you, Walt, and thank you for being on here. And I see B in there. She said it best about you right there, like Walt the man. There he is. And Walt's on the stage. So Walt's on the stage. So
in the mail. Is in the mail.
Yeah. But Mary, I was gonna say, because, and Walt just hit on that, because you're sharing your story, and you're sharing, a lot of people, they will hold back when they start talking about their health issues, and even showing weakness in any kind of say. But by you sharing it, you opening up your life and your story and the things that you're going through, and that you're real. I think it helps a lot of other people. I mean, it gives them a place to go that they, that was my biggest thing with this. But all of this YouTube was, I needed people that was going to be real. I needed real talk.
Yes.
I didn't need a whole bunch of fluff. I didn't need you to start, putting a show on for me. I needed people that was going to be real. And I'm glad that I came across some real people, and you being one of them. And the more and more we talk today, the deeper the conversation was. And I'm like, okay, I can see this, and so do you find yourself, I guess, do you find it healing for you to share with others what you're going through, or is it just? I'm not saying you're doing it for others, but are you doing it more for yourself, or you're doing it for others, or is it a combination?
Well, a lot of times people with fibromyalgia, it's considered it's all in the head. You go to doctors and you say you hurt everywhere. Oh, it's just in your head. Well, it's not. And having a special needs child who is now an adult, married, actually works as a cashier, which just surprises me, but amazes me at the same time. She also has a wonderful knack to work with animals and is working with horses. She did equestrian therapy for 10 years and is using some of those skills now to work with horses and just loving it. And, when I was a special needs mom, nobody understood. They didn't get it. I'd sit there thinking to myself, the parents were sometimes worse than the kids. No parent came to me and said, you know what, I don't know what it's like to have a child with autism, but can I come and sit with you and have lunch? Can I understand this? Can I try to understand this? Nope, that didn't happen. And so there was a lot I could say raising my daughter was probably, as far as friendships, one of the loneliest times in my life. And when my daughter was 13 years old, we went to a clinic, and she was going for something else. And they said, what she has is indicative to people that have sugar. Well, the previous year we had gotten a diagnosis that they had looked at her and said, it's not when she gets diabetes, it's if she gets diabetes. Or not if, it's when. And they took her sugar and it was 350. And they said, you've got to get in the car and go right to the hospital. And we spent 4 days in the hospital. And so now I had a child that was autistic and a child that also had diabetes. And that was just, let's throw a monkey wrench in all of that. That 2013 was one of the most difficult years of my life. My daughter had diabetes. My dad had rotator cuff surgery. I walked away from my job because my daughter needed me. Didn't know how we were going to survive. And we did. My dad had to retire. He had gotten diagnosed with dementia the year before. I moved my parents next door to us. We were renting, but there was a house available next door. My uncle passed away all in 2013. Wow. I mean, God just literally carried us all the way to the end of the year. It's never a year I would want to ever repeat again in my life. But I think having to be a mother who was dealing with a special needs child, I had no other choice but to be resilient. I was caring and taking care of her, and it wasn't easy. People, they didn't understand if we didn't go places. Well, I'm not going to Chuck E. Cheese for a birthday party and then deal with a 3-hour meltdown because my daughter can't handle it. It was foreign to people.
Right. Wow.
Yeah. My next door neighbor, their son is autistic, and he just aged out of a program that he was in. And I knew he was coming home when they put the trampoline up in the backyard for him. They put a big trampoline up. But, you're talking about friends. I remember I'm a motorcycle guy. When I purchased my newest motorcycle, I literally considered what types of pipes I put on my motorcycle so I wouldn't disturb him. And I'll tell them when I'm leaving the house and stuff like that. So, and then my wife's cousin, same thing. When his son comes over, you got to let a kid be a kid. He doesn't know his own strength. But, people who love you and respect you, no explanation is necessary. And for people who don't, no explanation will ever be acceptable. So you just got to surround yourself with people who love and care for you. And the rest of the people really don't matter. Because if you think about it, they really don't matter. They really don't.
One of the pivotal times in my daughter's life is when my husband and I chose to decide to get her an autism service dog, which are coming more and more frequent now than it was back then. And everybody that is standing, I would sit down when I'm about ready to pronounce the number for a service dog. But an autism service dog can cost you at least $15,000. I am not speaking wrong, I'm saying what it is, anywhere to $20,000. My husband eventually will need a diabetic service dog. He could use it now if we had the funds. That can cost between $20,000 and $25,000. It is not something that is covered by insurance. And so my mother, who said, if you just give it to Mary, she's going to do it. She's going to get it done. And she said, but in back of my head, I thought there is no way she's going to raise $15,000 for this dog. And I did. And we were blessed with a beautiful black lab in 2012. His name was Jordan. And by somebody who was well known within the Florida community in South Florida, and saw the news story and donated the full amount. And this dog was rescued. He was going to be euthanized. He was 24 hours from being euthanized, and he was rescued to become her autism service dog. That dog changed my daughter's life.
Wow.
There was a significant difference before and after that dog. One of the questions I ask a lot of autism mothers is, how is your sleep pattern? Oh, it's terrible. And I'm like, yeah. They found that most autistic children don't sleep well without a warm body. Well, guess who the warm body was? We tried everything. That dog, when she would sat there at 14 and said, Mom, good night, I'm off to bed. I was like, what? Because that was so foreign to me. I'd spent an hour, and I'll never forget. I come in and I find them with like her head on his butt in all different positions, all stretched out, sleeping. And there was one night, and I was doing my normal hour routine of sitting with her, and he just sneaked up and came between the two of us, and I didn't on purpose leave room between the back of the headboard and myself, but I guess I did. And eventually just got up, and he just went behind my back. And he's like, Mom, I got you. I got this. And he was the best thing that could have happened to her. And they're just amazing dogs. And he was in service for her for 7 wonderful, wonderful years. But he did totally change her life.
Wow.
He brought her into this world. And he was a godsend for sure.
Wow. No, that's awesome. I mean, a lot of people, they have pets, and they definitely have service animals, and like you said, it's not covered on insurance, but they should be, because even with the ADA, the American Disability Act, they fly on aircraft, and they're supposed to go into restaurants and all. So you would think that the insurance companies would pick up on that and say, hey, this is not just a pet. This is an attachment to the person. This is like, saying, that's almost like saying, we're not going to cover your crutches or cover your wheelchair or cover, because you need this to survive. You need this to function. And, that's worth the fight, I think so. And I applaud you for putting the effort together and putting it out there for, again, sharing your story so someone can even donate the funds needed for that. And that's awesome. Not only did you save the life of an animal, a dog that was, but at the same time, it helped your daughter get to a better place. So that's awesome. So thank you for sharing on that. So I know I have a yellow lab and a black lab now. They're just labs. They're sisters. So they're 100% sisters from different litters. So they're 2 litters apart, but they got the same parents. So and to watch them grow together now, and to see them starting to bond with each other is amazing. But thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that story.
Well, my encouragement, just so people know, if you see a person with a service animal, please pretend like it doesn't exist. They're a piece of medical equipment. If you have a pet, lovely, take them to places that allow pets. But really, honestly, except for pet stores and out and about in parks and stuff, if by taking them to stores that even allow pets, and there is a service animal, especially if it's someone that is dealing with a diabetic or seizure dog or a heart dog or cardiac dog, the distraction of your pet can actually distract them from missing a cue, which could really severely injure the person. So, you know, they really do. We spent 1.5 years in training with this dog, and we really worked hard to raise $15,000 for this dog. And so you can go online and order a vest. We have a beautiful Staffy. It's my daughter's dog that she can't care for right now, so we're caring for her. I love Mocha, and she's on our channel. She would never make a good diabetic service dog, and I would never throw a vest on her and say, here you go, because she doesn't have the temperament for it. Now we have a vest for her that says she's an emotional support animal, because she is for my husband, and she is for my daughter when she comes here. But that's also there so that we know also Mocha's past life, and her life was a little bit abusive. And so when we go out, we want to be able to control the environment. So we have a vest that says, please don't touch, because we don't want people rushing up on her. We know that she was held by the collar and choked by neighborhood kids that thought it was funny, and then beaten at her previous home. We want to control the environment. But people go online, they can go on Amazon, they can go a lot of these different places and order a vest and put it on your dog, and it's not. And it really hurts the people that really worked hard to get a dog like I did, or like I would love to be able to get for my husband. My husband's a severe diabetic. So if he was to pass out and he had a service dog, that service dog can dial a 911 equipment to let them know that he has passed out, he is by himself, and he needs immediate medical attention. That cost a $25,000 cost. And I don't have the funds for it, but they're life-saving. And for my daughter, that dog was life-changing. And the day we had to put him down, because he came from a shelter, we don't know what his birthday was. So my daughter said, I want to share my birthday with him, Mom. And I said, that's fine. Because he came home on Friday the 13th. I said, you can't give him his birthday then. And I remember getting in the car. I said, you guys got to keep him alive. He was having struggles. He had diabetes the last year of his life, and then went blind. So on her birthday, he was declining very quickly. And I said, you guys got to keep him alive. This dog can't pass away on her birthday. And so they did, until the next day, till the next morning, till 12:30 in the morning. We got in the car. She was about 19 at this point, and she's holding his leash and his collar. And I'm sitting in the back of the car. I said, Christina, come, let Mama hold you. She goes, Mama, don't touch me. You know how hard that is for a mom? She can't cut her mom. She's just lost her best friend, dog that went everywhere with her. And I can't even comfort my own kid. And she's my kid. I don't care how old she gets. But if there had been a dog in that car, boy, she'd have been all over that dog. And that was a real hard time in her life to lose that dog.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely it's a touching story, and I know if anyone who ever, even if it's just a pet, they had to lose a pet or have lost a pet, because I'm learning. So I was never a dog person, so I'm gonna let you know right now. So those who watching this show, you'd be like, yeah, he fake. I'm not. But I have 2 labs now, and their human is my wife. I'm telling you that right now. Their human is my wife. So, but they're such wonderful animals, and well, I would say fur babies. There's our fur babies. So, and you can walk out to get something out your car, and when you come back, it's almost like, hey, I ain't seen you all day, and it's like, wait a minute, I just walked out the door, but they're so excited to see you, and like, hey, welcome back, and what can I do for you? And hey, I'm a love all over you just because you went out and you came back. And so, I can imagine, and I know we've dealt with it, because we had to unfortunately put one of our labs down years ago, and it took a while to actually say, hey, we're going to go do it again. We're going to do it again. And that's, so we're, so, and then, like I say, to have it as a service animal, that's even different, because, they have they're working, and not only are they working, but you can't help but fall in love, even though they're doing their job. But their job is to be there for you, and you're there for them. And regardless of, what's going on, it's like, wow. And so I feel for your daughter in that time. And I was going to ask you this, and I know, Walt, you've been through a similar situation, especially losing a fur baby. But Mary, did your daughter ever get another pet, or has she not? Or?
No. She within about a week of her losing Jordan, she said, "Mom, I don't care what you do, you got to get me a dog." And so we fostered several dogs. The first one was Buddy. He was going to be euthanized, and we got him out of there. And then we tried to find him a forever home, and that didn't work. So we became his forever family. He actually passed away on my husband's and my anniversary. But we gave him lots of love for 9 months that this dog had never had before. And he was a hound. And then we had Nyla, who was the sweetest little pit, and was actually a hospice case. She was so thin you could see the ribs, and we nursed her back to health a little bit. And then she went with a home that she had a wonderful home for 2.5 years. She has an Instagram page. She's since passed away, but she was Nyla Doodles. And then we got Hunter, and he was a Staffy. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'll never own a Staffy again until we got Mocha. And then once we got Mocha, she goes, "Mom, I can't let this dog go." And so we fostered several dogs, but she hasn't. And where she is now, she can't have a dog where they're living. But again, she works now with these horses because she did horse therapy for 10 years. And so she's using those skills. But she just loves animals. She comes to our house on Sundays after church a couple times a month just to see it. And she'll go, "Okay, Mom, food and Mocha." I gotta go see my dog. So yeah.
Wow. So Walt, I know you dealt with having the loss of well, you had several labs. I think you're a lab person, right?
Yeah, but this latest round, I guess my next door neighbors had 3 kids. So when I lost not my most recently lost dog, but the one before that, the kids used to go to school and tell the teachers they had a dog, but it was basically my dog. So I had to put my dog down. Fast forward, they said, "Hey, Walt, when you get another dog, let us know. I think we're ready for a dog." So we adopted litter mates, a boy and a girl, and they hadn't been separated for like 11 years. Maybe 10 years until I had to put my dog down. And their dog is still next door, and he'll come over to see me. And I got to tell you, it's just like sometimes, "Oh, I see you. Okay. Yeah.
That's my favorite picture of the two of them.
Yeah, okay."
Right.
That was Precious Jordan.
But I find myself just sometimes when he comes over, we still got the dog made up. He still does his business in my yard. And, sometimes I just get my joy of the day is going outside and petting Kobe. He can't even really make it up the steps too much anymore. But he'll come in the yard, and I'll sit there and pet Kobe. And I got to tell you, it's therapeutic. It's definitely therapeutic. It is therapeutic. So
there was people that would come up to us and say, "Oh, I would like to take my dog anywhere. I'd like to train a service dog to take them." And I said, "Well, what's the disability?" "Oh, I don't have one. I just want to take it everywhere I go." And I go,
in today's time,
that's illegal, right? People don't realize that, but it's illegal.
Now, people have dogs everywhere. Like I live in Washington, D.C., and it's just like the city has really turned into a dog city. So a lot of dog parks, which are cool. A lot of restaurants allow dogs in. And, but a person who abuses the service dog vest is like a person who basically parks in a handicap spot.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. The same thing right there.
It's the same person, but that's it's just a level of selfishness. I think that I just think it's selfish to a point, so
people don't realize that the problem is when you bring a dog into a pet that's not trained into a store or into a restaurant. I know that most service dogs and all of them are trained to ignore all of the stuff, but they're dogs. And it can take that split second where they're looking for a detection of a sugar low or a seizure. There was a woman in the UK, and she allowed people to pet her dog. That dog missed the cue of a seizure, and she went down on the cement. So it just, for those type of dogs, when you're dealing with an autistic, or not autistic, a diabetic, seizure, or cataract heart dog, that little bit of miss can mean catastrophic, damage, and people don't realize it. And people can tell. My mother and my daughter went into a restaurant. They went into a restaurant, got in. Jordan, my mom released the leash. Jordan went right under the table like he was supposed to, and you could hear from the back. That's how you can tell the difference between a real and a fake service animal.
Yeah,
people will be amazed when we come out and go, "Oh, there's a dog underneath the table," because he did what he was supposed to do.
But education is key, and it really helps when the vest says, "Please don't pet me, I'm working." Because as a dog lover, your natural instinct is to, you see a friendly dog, you want to pet the dog. I mean, long before, if you just look at the vest, I've caught myself doing it. And on the fire ground, we had an arson dog, and trying to tell the guys, "Hey man, the dog is working, please leave the dog alone." Because and even if you see police officers, like Secret Service has bomb dogs, they have attack dogs, they use that Belgium Malinois, which is a very high active dog. But when they take them off duty and they tell them, "Okay, this is breakdown," we sat there and thrown the ball. So it's just people have to be aware. People have to be made aware. And like you said, if you don't know, it's easy to just say, "Oh, well, it's no big deal, yada, yada, yada." But you are educating people, and now you have a platform to educate people. Which is
right.
Oh, Jordan knew. We put that vest on. It was like, man, I'm working, and he knew
work.
it.
Yeah, it's going to work.
He was an amazing dog. I mean, she could sit. If Christina was going to have an issue or start to have an overwhelming time, he would just sit his little tail end down, and she was going to go out for a walk, and she'd go, "Mom, why isn't he moving?" And I said, "Because you're overwhelmed." And what he would do is, he was about 100 pounds of a black lab, and he would just place himself on top of her, and you could just see her face going, it's that deep pressure that they need. And then he would go anywhere she wanted in about 10 minutes.
Right.
And when we first got her, she had started a new, or when we got Jordan, started a new pattern of sitting there going, this stimming noise. And it was happening often enough that it was starting to bother the kids at school. And she would just sit there and hold her breath. And I would sit there and say, "Christina, breathe." And about 6 months after Jordan, my husband and I said, "That noise hasn't happened for a while."
Wow.
So, these dogs too, for those that have children that are autistic, if they like dogs, don't hesitate. Go find a reputable agency, please, to get the dog. Because these dogs, now my child did not just run out of the house. There's a lot of autistic children that do. They'll tend to go towards large bodies of water. These dogs, what they'll do is they'll train them to kind of hide and seek. They'll play the game with the child to sniff them, play hide and seek, and go find them. And they can often find them very quickly. Or if they're in a store, a lot of autistic children will run, and they are tethered to the dog so that they can't run. And of course, they're calmer because they're with their dog that they have built this relationship with and this partnership with, and they sleep better.
Yeah. So the body.
It's one of the extra perks of having a service animal. But all for it.
Right. And the thing is, and I know what you was putting out, Mary, was that's for anyone that's out there. If you see the service animals, let them work. They are working, and don't feel that they got a dog, so I need to bring my dog. It's a big difference between your pet and the working dogs. They are actually working, doing their job. And then I know, Walt, you touched on a lot of different ones. You're in the airport and you see the canines. You got your bomb dogs. I remember in the military, we was the same way. We had our different dogs who, someone was search and rescue, someone was mine detection. So whatever they were trained to do, and them dogs had more rank than half of us. So we had to respect the rank of the dog.
Yeah.
Like the dog, like, that's a major. He got a major. Yeah, you better leave him alone. Like what?
A Secret Service agent and a police officer, just Secret Service, uniform Secret Service and MPD. It's kind of like a joke, but they literally cry when they have to retire their dog, because usually you get one a career, and they say the dog flies, he can't fly and work in the same day. Oh man, he gets the best food, best medical care. Oh, but here's the funny part: the drug dogs. One of my assignments was in the office of the fire chief, and the Lorton, the jails administrative division was on the other side of the building. We shared a building with the jail. So they would run the drug dog through the mail room, because all the mail for the local jail went through the mail room at Grimke School. And I'd get a kid in there, man. I've been gone like 11 years, but just before I left, and the dog would come through the building and sit down beside the kid.
Yeah.
And I'd tell the kid, you need to leave the building. And I'm like, what? The corrections officer would just look at me, and he'd just be like, you need to leave the building and until you get yourself together. And I would just give him that. And he, what do you mean? I said, so the dog came and sat down beside you. That's a drug dog.
Yeah. You
are in a government building, And I mean, technically, people got on me for like, well, he's in a government building. He's supposed to get with. No, man, let this kid go. But he had to learn a lesson,
Right.
And then the guy who was the drug guy, ran the drug dog, he retired, and guess what he got? A beagle that detects bed bugs.
Oh, wow.
So he has a contract with the motels and hotels, and he runs this beagle, and they check on bed bugs. So dogs are very, 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 you can train them.
They're amazing.
Love to work.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
You got to let him work. You got to let him do his thing, and that's the hardest thing to do when you want to
be careful. When Jordan passed away, or before he passed away, we knew that was going to happen. And I would like to see this person actually behind bars. And it was a gentleman with service dogs by Warren Retrievers. And I had heard wonderful things. I had researched them. I had done all the stuff that I was supposed to do. And we went through them to get both Josh, because I said once Jordan passed, we'll get Josh his diabetic service dog, and get Christina her dual service dog, which was autistic and diabetic service dog. And it was $25,000 a piece. And this man lied about his military career, took money from the business, from the nonprofit, put it into his other business, rented furniture and all that stuff through the other business. And we had raised $2,500. We got back $150.
Wow.
And it was families that raised $25,000 and never got their dog.
Wow.
So just be careful who you're going through and who you trust, because there were families that they were at the end stages. They'd worked so hard, and all their funds were taken. We lost $2,000.
Yeah, and that's they're everywhere too.
Yeah, hustlers. Yeah, people.
They're everywhere.
We sit there and we say, man, how can people do things like this? But understand, eventually they don't get away with it. They don't get away. I mean,
he's gone bankrupt. I hope he winds. He's never allowed to do it again, but I hope he winds up in jail.
And trust me, he probably will. But the main thing is that the lesson, again, you have a platform to say that. Before you could probably say that to 10, 20 people in the coffee shop. But now you have the ability to say that to thousands of people. So that's a great thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and we use it. I mean, it's like I say, the Sharpening Iron show, and then we get into the after show, and you don't know what direction is going to take you. And I'm glad it's going in this direction, because it's definitely have been very helpful for sure. And I remember when I was in the military, because you talked about the drug dogs, Walt. We in the military, so before we get deployed to go anywhere, we line all our duffel bags up. So you line all your duffel bags up, you stand right next to your bag, and they walk the dogs by before we put the bags on the aircraft so we can fly out. And you hope that dog don't sit down on you. You don't want the dog to sit down on you, because if he sit down on you, you know you was hemmed up. So don't be dumb. Especially people that when they fly in places and they're gonna go enjoy themselves. And I'm sure it's probably a lot harder for the dogs now because a lot of it is legal. So now it's probably a little bit different for some of those service animals, but they're smart, and I'm sure they didn't figure out ways to get around that too. But I remember my military days where that dog sit down on you like, oh, here we go. Oh, here we go. So now they never sat down on me. So no one had to worry about that. But I've seen it sit down on other people with they pull them out the line of like, come here, Sergeant, come here, Private, come here, whatever. But you knew you was hemmed up if your bag, if the dog sat down on your bag.
Hey, Mary, how many times? Tell me about your show. How often is your show? Are you online? Are you live and all that good stuff?
Well, I do lives. We do a daily devotion on our channel, and the reason why I wanted to do a pre-recorded devotion, we're actually going through this book right now, which I got this back in 2022. Billy Graham's Peace for Each Day. I actually went to school with his granddaughter during my school years, but I'm doing this, and I got this in 2022, and I'm telling you, God is using it exactly when I need it, because prior to my aunt's passing a month ago, today, there was heaven is glorious, heaven is joy, heaven is active, and there's even different devotions that have been talking about grief, and God's just using it right when I needed it. But we do a daily devotion so that people that want to listen to that can. We try to just come on and do topics from special needs children to dementia to whatever, mental health, whatever, so forth. And we do that live. It's not that I don't want to bring God into that, but I also don't want to stop anybody that says, you know what, I don't believe in that, and that's fine. I want everybody to be, come in and feel connected, because I don't want that mom, I don't want that person sitting on the couch saying, you know what, I'm by myself, I have nobody to talk to. Right. I want everybody to come in and make those connections and have that support system. And so we do recipes and jokes and quotes, and I'm getting back into the live stuff now since I've kind of dealt with my aunt's passing. I've been kind of out of the loop for the past month, but I'm trying to get back into the swing of things. And last year, we actually did 2 shoeboxes through Samaritan's Purse. And we're hoping this year for Christmas, we can do 3. So we have a wish list on our link tree that people can order things, and we put it in a box, and we're hoping to do 3 boxes this year. And that will be a continuing thing that we do through Samaritan's Purse with the shoe boxes for the kids. Both of our shoe boxes went to Guatemala last year.
So these are like toiletries and stuff, non-perishable.
It's crowns, markers. I don't know if you've heard of Samaritan's Purse.
Okay, I have not.
That's Samaritan's Purse does shoe boxes for. Trying to find the ornament because we got an ornament last year for it. Samaritan's Purse, and they do shoe boxes that they fill. You can find them at Hobby Lobby. Some of the shops will have the shoe boxes, and you fill it with pencils and crowns and markers and toys. They give you a list of things to fill it, and you drop it off at a local location in your area, often a church, and they will send it to a child that may not have anything but that shoe box for Christmas.
Right, wow.
And so we do that. We do a couple streams in December. We try to do a live every day in December. We know how hard that can be for people at times. And some of the streams we dedicate solely to raising funds to make those shoe boxes happen. And that'll be a continuous thing we do every year. And that's in honor of my grandmother.
Okay.
No, that's good stuff.
Giving back.
There. Yeah. And that's the whole thing, being able to to give back and have the ability and like I say, once you put it out to the community, you're not surprised because you've seen it work, but you'll be
Yes.
surprised how many people are willing to help out once they know that there's a cause or a reason to give and is going to a worthy cause or for a worthy reason. So now that's really good. That really, really is good. So super, super excited. I want to make sure we recognize some of the people that's been with us and hanging with us. Mary and Walt. B has been out there hanging the whole time. The source is still here. Cindy, Lifestyle and More. Vibing with VC is here, and hello, Vibing. And make sure we thank you for being on the Iron Sharpening Iron Show, hanging with us. Sandy Wandy, I just like that name. I just like it's rolling right now. So I'm rolling with that name right now. So Niecy Jackson's been hanging with us, and we thank you for being here. And I just want to go up and make sure we hit everyone. Nightbot's been hanging in there. So we're going to thank Nightbot for hanging with us. What's that? Christian Mandolin? I'm missing it. I can barely see the name, so I apologize. Christine Melinda, I think it's that. If I get it right.
Kristen Melinda.
Yeah, Kristen Melinda. Okay. I look, Mary. I've said it before on the show, and so she must be a moderator in your group, like a super moderator.
Sandy.
No,
or Kristen.
Kristen.
Yeah, she's not a moderator right now, but Kristen is someone that I found, and we're like sisters.
Okay.
We she's raising a child with autism, and I am, and I have, so we're there for each other in a really special way. We're like, hey, we're sisters.
I mean, the reason I said it was because her name is green, and it normally is white.
That means
blue.
She's a channel member.
Okay, so, but that right there, I'm red-green colorblind, so it's like it's disappearing. So I can barely see the name, but now I've seen a green color, so that was like I was going to ask about that. So that means she's a channel member that she has a green. Okay, that's pretty cool. So that's good to know, and thank you for sharing that with us. So just go and make sure we don't miss anyone. Trying not to. And it's been a good Jamaica Alexandra is in here. Sharon Jackson was here, and we thank you for being here. Living my blessed life at 60, and that's Echo. Thank you for being here. Lucy's Warren's World, and if we want to keep going up, and Tuba Chat, that's the one we got to make sure you hook up and see Tuba Chat before if you want to help build your channel. And we're just going. It's been a good show. A lot of people have been through here, and if we don't hit everybody, it's not personal. Selena the Celestial, Jared Talks has been here. Juan Perez has been through here. Captain Johnson been here. I know we got my man Walt here. So I just want to say thank you again. Mary, for sharing your stories with us and putting, you took us through your childhood and your teenage years, and, even some of the adventures of being married and not being married and being married, having a kid, and, and just the transitions that I was able to hear with your dad and, grandfather making a statement to you that was very rare. So it's just amazing to hear that, so I can see where that spirit of wanting to give back. And I can see where that it's like you could be, like you said, you was frustrated at times, you were angry at times, but now all I hear is, wanting to help somebody and pay it forward and give people, hey, you can have all this going on and still be blessed. You can still, see the joy in it. And that's to me is amazing. So I thank you for that. And then the Blessed2Crochet, where you don't have to be a crocheter. You don't even have to be in the fiber world, and you can still be part of the show or be part of your community. So go ahead.
Yeah. You see that light behind us? When we were at a recent conference at our church or church group, it was about 600 women that got together at a local church, and they all had those lights in the back. Yeah, they all lit them up. They got the sanctuary dark, and they all lit these beautiful lights, 600 women, to represent that we never have to be alone. And so I took that and I start putting that, if we're doing a live and I'm in my bedroom, guys, do it anywhere. This is a $10 thing I found on OfferUp, and I just put some crochet in it. And I love snowmen. That's another thing about me. So this is Elvis the snowman. He's hanging around for even I'm a winter and fall kind of girl. Forget the summer and spring. And but anyway, if we're sitting here, or if I go through and record devotions with Mama every once in a while, I will take that candle. That candle is lit so that everybody realizes you do not have to suffer in silence. You're not alone. There's places you can be to have support. Our channel is one of them. We want you to come in. We want you to feel like you have a community and support. It's what it's all about. I will never be the person that sits there ever saying nobody wants to be my friend, because that's an old tape that's gone. And I struggle with that at times every once in a while, but I have to go back to people like Sandy and Kristen and other people that I'm like, I got friends. I had friends surrounding me when my aunt died a month ago, and they would check in and make sure, Mary, you doing okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm hanging in there. And we've got to come together as a community and be, there. And it's what's happening on YouTube. And I thought YouTube was a place you just watch videos on. I never thought this kind of thing existed.
Right.
But it does, and it can happen, and you can have community and good relationships, people that I would have never met outside of this. I have another dear friend that I consider a sister over in Australia I never would have met. And she's been there some nights when I'm struggling. And, like I said, as a fibromyalgia patient, I think you asked about clothing one time. You were asking about fashion. And I said, sometimes the clothing can actually hurt your skin. And sometimes you have to wear loose clothing. And so sometimes those days you just can't, you don't have the energy to go out. And so, these different places have become a community for me. And I just wonder how many people it can become a community for. Really.
Right. And that's what it is. I mean, you find the right person, find the right community, and then you want to learn to move on. And I say move on, but go to other communities. But that comes from getting into one group and meeting other people from different communities, and it expands your borders and all. And you'd be amazed. And don't judge the book by the cover. Just because the name says this, well, I'm not into crocheting, so I'm not gonna. You just got to go in there and check the page out, because once you check the page out, you be like, oh, they got a lot more. It's just the name that they chose. It was the name that they decided to go with. But that doesn't, Big Jack story time. So I don't want no stories. I don't know nothing about no Big Jack. So you just keep on going. But if you get to know the person, you'd be like, all right, that guy's he's not that bad. He's not that bad. So,
or if they come to our channel and they look at our videos and think, oh, well, they're a spiritual channel. Well, yes, we do devotions, but that's not all of us.
That's not
we have a saying on our channel. It's actually our $2.99 membership on our channel, and it's called the Blessed Disco Balls. And the saying is, a disco ball is made up of a bunch of broken pieces of glass to make a magical ball of light. You're not broken. You're a disco ball. And sometimes we are broken, but sometimes we need help and support to put those pieces back together again so that we can have that strength to be shining out in the world.
Right. Wow.
And I'm trying.
No, you're hitting it. You're hitting it. You're doing a wonderful job. So I'm super excited to have you on the Iron Show and even the after show. And I want to thank you again for being a very supportive to my channel. And I will do my best to be supportive to your channel. Anytime you need me, just say, hey, come on over here, and I'm there. So I know your mom wasn't on the show. Like I said, she's on the thumbnail, but I'm about to listen some more to the devotional, because it sounds like that's when we get a chance to interact with her, or at least to hear her. So that's pretty cool.
She does. Usually we try to do Mondays. When we put Monday's devotion out, we usually do it. But if I'm having a hard day, we don't. She's in the background. Sometimes if we're driving to go see my daughter, she'll be on a live with me, but she likes to do stuff on the background. She's quiet. I took after my dad.
Right.
Not
Well,
quiet.
there's nothing wrong with
And
that.
I had very strong women in my family. I had a very strong great grandmother who just was a tough as cookies kind of individual. And so I think I got some of my strength from Scottish roots with Greek heritage thrown in. Let's put it that way.
We
It's
got you.
quite a combination.
Okay. Yeah. Well, look, it's working for you, and it's working for your mom, because the show is growing and it's touching a lot of lives, and you're doing a lot of great things. So I would say I wouldn't change a thing. You know, if it's working. So keep doing what you're doing. I see
She's on
Desi.
a She's on a fixed income, so it helps her. And when my dad passed, he outlived his life insurance. So she doesn't have any of that because he had dementia. So every little bit that comes from the channel just helps her. And I said, Mom, use it for what bills, whatever you need to use it for, just use it.
Right.
Makes my heart happy.
Yeah, and I remember you saying that even in the beginning, that she takes all the residuals off of it, and you just use it as an outreach in a sense. And that's awesome that you can do that on the platform. So that's amazing. Excuse me, Desi, I see you're out there, and thank you for being on. We'll say the crafty was it Visage? If I'm missing it, if I apologize if I miss it. Sharon Jackson is still hanging out there, and I thank you for being on with me. Cindy Lifestyle and more. And I don't think we're missing anybody, but Walt, do you have anything you want to drop before we roll?
I'd just like to say this is something
Ready square.
63 years ago, well, my wife got this when she was born. And her, from her cousin, who was like 15 years older than her. But her aunt, her aunt also used to make quilts. So, you know, this thing is 63 years old, but you know, she can't put it on without telling me a story about what it means to her, you know, how it brings back memories. So just know that the work you're doing on the crochet side is just like, I mean, that's tender love and care, and people definitely receive that kind of stuff because, you know, I've been married 30 years, 29, and you know, we've been together 31, and every time she pulls this thing out or pulls the quilt out, you know, and it just triggers a memory, and we start having those conversations. So keep up the good work, and you never know how you touch people, and I'm glad you do, and it's a pleasure meeting you, and Big Jack, thank you for allowing me to hang out. And Mary, best of luck to you. And Jack, you'll share her channel with me.
Oh, yeah.
You know, maybe I'll get in there and check out some of your stuff. So thank you, some of your content. So thank you very much.
And this was one I did. I don't know if you can see it, but
yeah, okay. So
it's coming up. Yeah.
Amazing Grace. But those are the blankets I like doing where you can actually put the words and the letters in.
Okay.
Those are the ones that I really, really enjoy doing.
So how do you choose crochet over knitting? How does that go? Give me the real quickly down and dirty.
I didn't like knitting. I didn't do it well.
Okay.
I just gleamed. This is that lighthouse one I was telling Jack about earlier.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's wow.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was where my husband and I had spent our anniversary or honeymoon in St. Augustine. So for his birthday, I redid the St. Augustine Lighthouse to my best of my ability. But those are the blankets where you're doing like it's a bobble stitch raised, and you can do so much with those. So I'm trying to learn now how to write my own patterns and do my own thing. And eventually we'll put that out too as well. Mama's just like right down the hall. I have a wonderful husband that allows his mother-in-law to live with us, and we help each other. And he said, well, I promised your dad I was going to take care of his girls, and that's exactly what I'm going to do.
That's what's up. That's what's up. Great man. That's Mr. Blessed2Crochet. I remember being in the channel. So great. That's awesome right there. So awesome. 100%. Yes. So definitely it's been a wonderful, wonderful time, Mary, and I appreciate you again for being on the Sharpening Iron show.
My pleasure.
My man Walt, the myth, the legend, always here. You know, thank you for showing up.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah. God. So look for everybody that's out there. Walt's still trying to find a name for his YouTube world. So if anybody got a name for him that they think he should, just drop it in the chat for moving on and see what comes out of that. So we'll see how that go. But it's definitely been a blessing. It's been wonderful having you on, Mary. I definitely I'm glad that I got to know you a little bit better. And like I say, you don't have to look far from me. I'm right here. So if you need anything, let me know. Somebody dropped in there, the world of Walt. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, so there you go. The
man.
world of Walt. There's your channel name right there, man. So there
Walt's
you
World,
go.
huh?
Yeah,
Wow.
the world of Walt. Yeah, because look, that man is
the world of Walt.
yeah, the world of Walt.
I always say, because in my mind,
yeah. Look, but look, if you just look at the letters, it's just wow. And that's what I get right every time you open your mouth, man. Wow. It's just yeah. So no, but thank you all and everyone that's in the chat and everyone that's been with us all day. We thank you for being on the Iron Sharpening Iron show, hanging with us, and my guest Mary, Blessed2Crochet, my man Walt, the world of Walt. Wow, the wow factor that comes on the show for the after show.
I agree.
Yeah. So, and we thank you all. It's been a blessing. And until we meet again, I'm gonna ask you all to stay blessed. And until next time, God bless you. Talk to you later. Love you all. See you later, Mary. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Have a good one. Be safe, y'all.
All right, Walt. Thanks.
Right.